Nighttime street photography. It's something that I've tried for the first time a couple nights ago, and I will make a video about it, talking about the things I learned. And it's really interesting because it's really different from the day, right? First of all, there's not as much lighting, right? It's a lot more darker. And luckily, I was in the city, so there were some street lights, some building lights, so that helped a bit. But yeah, your mindset really changes when you're taking photos at night, and also your settings. Now I will make a completely different videos talking about the camera settings and giving you guys some tips about taking street photographies or taking portraits at night. That will be in another video, or if I've already posted it, then you can watch it right there. In this video, I will show you how to edit a portrait, well, a night portrait, right? So let's get into it. So I have this portrait here of this lovely lady that I met during one of my street photography walks. But I just want to look right here for a second, the camera settings. So as you can see, I was shooting this with my 85mm. I was at f1.4, right? That was my aperture. My ISO was at 2500, and my shutter speed was at 250, or 1/250th of a second. Having an aperture of f1.4, or even if it's 1.8 or even 2.8, that works because it opens up the aperture a lot, which lets in a lot of light. So if you're shooting in low light, hey, it really helps to have an aperture that can open so widely. Now, the ISO, I was at 2500. I did not want to raise it too much, because if you raise your ISO too much, that's when you introduce noise. Okay, so these are just my camera settings that I covered real quick. And again, I will be making another video just about that. This video is about the tutorial and how to edit those night portraits. Okay, so let's get started. As usual, we're going to start with the basics settings right here. The white balance, sometimes I leave it on auto, but I think here I'm gonna put it a little bit warmer, so around 3000. And the exposure, the tint, I'm gonna put that around 8. Yeah, so right now I got the white balance done. So let's move down to the exposure. Usually I would put the exposure down, but the way I edit night photos is obviously different than the way I edit the daytime photos. So here I'm just gonna raise the exposure just a little bit, like say 0.50, yeah, just like that. And then as usual, I'm gonna lower the highlights, perfect. And then I'm gonna raise the shadows just a bit, just like that. And I'm gonna turn down the whites, like that is fine. I'm gonna turn down the blacks, just like that, perfect. So right now we did some color correction, some exposure correction. If we look at the before and after, well, before we look at the before and after, let's take care of the present settings here. So as usual, I'm going to raise my texture quite a bit, actually. Here. Now the texture, I'm going to raise it a little bit more than I usually do, because this is a nighttime portrait, so it's a little bit less sharp. So I'm going to raise the texture here, and I'm going to lower the clarity, so it's not overall too sharp. There's a little bit of smoothness to it. That's why I like to lower the clarity. I'm also going to raise up the haze just a bit. Yeah. Perfect. The vibrance, I'm gonna raise that just a little bit. Okay, let's look at the before and after. So as you can see, we did some color corrections. We worked on the exposure, the highlights, shadows, the contrast, just doing some basic color correcting. Now we can go down to the tone curve and start doing, start playing with the light and the lighting just a little bit more. So what I am going to do here, the highlights, I usually leave the highlights as they are. Right? I usually leave them as they are. What I am going to do though is lower the lights, but just a little bit. Yeah. Or let me see. Okay, if I lower it too much, then it becomes too dark, obviously. So I'm just going to lower it at around -5. Then I'm going to lower the darks as well, say at around -20. Oops, -20. Okay. That's fine. So basically what I'm doing here is bringing back a little bit of contrast to the photo. And the shadows, I'm gonna put it at say -8. Yep, something like that. If we do a before and after. Yeah. Maybe I'm gonna raise the darks a little bit more actually. Yeah. Yeah, that'll work. Okay, now let's move down to the HSL, the hue, saturation, and luminance. Now, if you're questioning about what this section is, or if you have any other questions about anything that I'm covering in this video, you can leave it down in the comments, or you can watch this video right here where I go into great details about the hue, saturation, luminance, and basically every other setting in Adobe Lightroom when it comes to editing your portraits. Now, as usual, I tend to stick with just a few tones, a few colors when I'm doing the HSL, and that's the yellow tones, the green tones, and the blue tones, right? So for the hue, I'm just going to shift those tones down like I usually do. Here I'm gonna do like around -20, and the greens, maybe -20 also. Actually, the yellow, that's a little too much. I think I'm gonna play around -50. Yep. Now, when we get to the saturation, you're really gonna start noticing the difference and basically what we're doing, right? So the yellow, I'm gonna desaturate it to say around -50. And I really want you to pay attention to the background, right? I really want you to pay attention to everything that's going on here. I'm also gonna zoom into the background so you can see it better. So the yellow, I'm gonna desaturate it to -50, okay? And the green, I say -40. Yep, perfect. And I'm also going to desaturate the blues a little bit as well. Boom. So if we do a quick before and after, you can see there's less colors in the background. I like to take out colors in the background because I find that it's less distracting. Now let's move down to the luminance. For the luminance, I'm actually going to raise the red tones, right? To make her red scarf here pop a little bit more. I think it's popping enough, but just a little bit more won't hurt. If I do it too much, then obviously it's unnatural, right? So I'm just going to leave it at, say, around 6. And then the orange tones, I'm going to raise them also. Wow, this is actually not bad. I know I mentioned that I usually stick to the yellow and green tones, but it's important to note that my settings change or may change depending on the photos. Usually I'm editing daytime photos, right? This photo was taken at night, so it's normal that my settings change for this photo. The way I edit changes for this photo or for the photos that I shoot at night. That's normal, and that's actually a good tip. Don't follow literally everything that you see in the tutorial. Take the knowledge, take whatever the person is teaching you and apply it to your situation, apply it to your photo. Okay, now I'm gonna lower the yellow luminance. Perfect. It's really doing something to that background. And also I'm gonna lower the green luminance to around 30. Yeah, so if we do a quick before and after, boom. You see, even in her face, we even brought up her face by raising the red and the orange luminance. So that's actually really good. Now let's move down to the color grading. Now, my settings for that usually are the same. I'll leave the hue at around 147, and I raise the saturation just a little bit. I found that this setting works pretty well for nighttime. For the midtones, again, I really like to have the midtones in the reddish / orangish tones. So I'm gonna leave it at around, say, 36. I'm gonna raise the saturation quite a bit, say at 15. Perfect. And the highlights, for the highlights, I'm gonna leave it at around 21. And the saturation at around 10. Let's see how this looks. It's actually not bad. I think I'm going to raise the saturation of the shadows just a bit. Yeah, because I really like this green tone. If you look right here in the background, you can see there's a green tone here. Yeah, I kind of like this. It might be a little bit much, so perfect. Now you can see right here that the image is a little bit noisy, right? There's a lot of grain. You might like this, but I usually don't like to have too much grain on my image. And if you're shooting at night, automatically you will already have a lot of grain in your photo. Well, it depends on your camera settings, but generally there's a lot more noise at night in your photo. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to bring up the manual noise reduction, so the luminance right here. I'm gonna bring it up to say around, well, I don't know, I'm gonna bring it up until there's less noise, but I'm not gonna bring it up until it starts to look unnatural. So around 50 is fine. Is it? Yep, that's just around where I would stop. Now for the effects, again, I'm gonna add a little vignette. Perfect, say -5, that'll do it. And the calibration, do I need calibration? No. I don't think I really need calibration. I might add something. No, I think I'm gonna leave it like this. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it as it is. Okay, we're almost done. Now let's jump into the masks. I actually just made a video about how masks are so important. And if you have any questions about how to use it, I will leave the link to it right here or also in the description, because I'm not really gonna go into too much details in this tutorial. But if you wanna have a video just about the masks, you can click the video right here, or there's a link in the description for that. So usually what I like to do for the masks is darken the background, brighten the face, and darken everything around the face. Whenever the subject is showing their teeth or they're smiling, what I like to do is I like to whiten the teeth, but just a little bit, not so much that it starts to look unnatural. So I'm actually going to start with that. I'm going to start with the teeth. So I'm going to select the person right here. I'm going to wait for Lightroom to do the face detection. Perfect. I'm going to select teeth, and then I'm going to select create mask. Perfect. Now I'm just going to bring down the saturation just a bit. Yep. And I'm going to bring up the whites. Perfect. I might even bring up the shadows. Yep. If we do it before and after. Perfect. Maybe I'm saturated. Yeah. I feel like this is just good enough that it doesn't look too unnatural. So right now what I'm gonna do next is select the background. Now it's nighttime, so unlike daytime, the background is never as bright, but I will still make it even darker so that the face really pops. So, but not so much though. I think I'm gonna lower it by 0.30. Yeah, something like that. Maybe say maybe 0.50. Yeah, something like that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a mask around her face, just like that. I'm going to invert it, invert the mask, tweak the feather a bit, and then I'm going to darken everything around her. Perfect. I'm also going to remove some of this darkness from the background. Perfect. Then I'm going to take that same mask. I'm going to select duplicate and invert mask. So it's going to duplicate the mask and, well, invert it. And again, then I'm going to bring up that exposure. Perfect. So if we do a quick before and after, boom, you see her face is popping even more. Now I'm going to go back in the settings to see if there's anything else that I can change. Bring down this dehaze. No, the haze is fine. I'm just gonna bring it down. The highlights, yeah, that's okay. That's quite alright. Yeah, that's fine. The noise reduction, that's okay. Color grading, that's all covered. Do I still want no calibration? A little bit of calibration like that. Yeah, that's fine. Right, so after I do the masks, I always like to go back and tweak the image just a little bit. But after all that, this is where I would usually stop. So this is the final image. If we do, let's do a quick before and after. As you can see, the background is much less distracting, it's much darker, and her face is much brighter because it stands out from everything else. Her eyes are nice and sharp, her teeth are nice and white, but not too white so that it looks unnatural. Her scarf is nice, the skin tones are really accurate, are really well. And I like those little highlights, those little balls of bokeh, huh? Or bokeh. Do you say bokeh or bokeh? Let me know in the comments. So yeah, this is the final photo. If you've enjoyed this video, found it entertaining, or just learned something new from it, make sure to leave a like and please subscribe to the channel. You can watch this video here where I actually talk about my goal of trying to reach 1,000 subscribers by the end of the month. I really think we can do it. I really think it's possible. We're not that far. Or you can watch this video here. Well, this will actually be a video where I talk about nighttime photography, or a video where I talk about editing in Lightroom, but in greater detail. So you can watch either one of these videos. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Stay creative, keep creating, and God bless you.